Good morning. I'm Abigail Knott. Welcome to Walk by Faith. And please like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and share. Today we're continuing on our journey, diving into the prophets, and we're on the prophet Isaiah, and we are on Isaiah 6 today. Sorry, not Isaiah 6, Isaiah 7. Okay, first of all, let me read through, and then we'll talk about what this is talking about. I've always told you that there's a thread that leads right to Jesus Christ in all of the prophets, and here is the thread again. It is talking about a war that is about to be that's about to happen, and the kings are panicking and they're trying to get help with this war. So let's dive into it. During the days of Ahaz, the son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, king of Judah, Rezin, the king of Aram, and Pekah, the king of Remaliah, king of Israel, advanced on Jerusalem to attack it, but were unable to conquer it. It was told to the house of David that Aram and Ephraim had become allies. Ahaz's heart began to tremble, as did the hearts of his people, like forest trees shaken by the wind. Then Adonai said to Isaiah, "Get out now to meet Ahaz. Go, you and your son Jashub, at the end of the aqueduct from the upper pool on the road to the launderer's field, and say to him, take care to stay calm and unafraid. Don't be demoralized by the two smoldering stumps of firewood, by the blazing anger of Rezin and Aram, for the son of Remaliah, or because Aram, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have been plotting against you, thinking, we will invade Judah, tear it apart, divide it among ourselves, and appoint the son of Tubal as king there." This is what Adonai Elohim says. It won't occur, it won't happen, for the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus Rezin. In 65 years, Ephraim will be broken and will cease to be a people. The head of Ephraim is Shomron, and the head of Shomron is the son of Remaliah. Without firm faith, you will not be firmly established. Adonai spoke again to Ahaz, and he said, "Ask Adonai your God to give you a sign. Ask it anywhere, from the depths of Sheol to the heights above." But Ahaz answered him, "I won't ask, I won't test Adonai." For everyone who doesn't know, Sheol is kind of the Jewish idea of hell. That's what they call it. They call it Sheol. Then the prophet said, "Listen here, house of David. Is trying people's patience such a small thing for you that you must try the patience of my God as well? Therefore Adonai himself will give you a sign. The young woman will become pregnant." We know who that young woman was. It was Mary. "Bear a son and name him Emmanuel, God with us." That's Yeshua, Jesus. "By the time he knows enough to refuse evil and choose good, he will have to eat curdled milk and wild honey. Yes, before the child knows enough to refuse evil and choose good, the land whose two kings you dread will be left abandoned." So he's prophesying now about what will happen actually before Jesus comes. this seems to be talking about Jesus himself. He will have to eat curdled milk and wild honey. Yes, before the child knows enough to refuse evil and choose good, the land, now he's prophesying about the land whose two kings you dread will be left abandoned. He's saying this is going to happen. So have faith. He's actually rebuking him for his lack of faith. Adonai will bring the king of Asher on you, your people and your father's house. These will be days worse than any you've known since Ephraim broke loose from Judah. So when they're talking about that, Ephraim actually broke loose from Judah. The issue was that David, when he took over as king, at first it was Saul who was king, and he was from the tribe of Benjamin, and David was obviously from the tribe of Judah, and the tribe of Benjamin did not like that, and they split from the people, and they made their own kings. But I think that even in the desert, when they came into their promised land, I think it was the Ephraimites who actually, they were all allotted a plot of land. Like each tribe was allotted a plot of land. And the Ephraimites actually said, no, we don't like our plot of land. We want to go settle over there. And where they wanted to settle was actually outside of Jericho, where they had conquered. And that was also, so there was a split from then on also. But when Benjamin, they kind of had, I suppose they had, like, you could describe it that they had sour grapes of someone from the tribe of Judah getting the throne instead of Saul keeping it, and he was from the tribe of Benjamin. So the Benjaminites, they also split, and they went and lived, I think, where the Ephraimites were living. So that was the split. There was the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. I think the southern kingdom was the tribe of Judah. It was there that David ruled, and then the southern kingdom was where David ruled, and the northern kingdom was where the Ephraimites and the Benjamites were, and that was called Israel, and the southern kingdom was called Judah or Judea. So that's my mind working it out, and please comment in the comments. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But from my studies and what I have studied, that is what I remember. And then you have the prophet saying, this is what will happen before the Son of God is born, before Emmanuel is born, and he's rebuking him for his lack of faith. Now, Ahaz was actually king of the southern kingdom. So he says, yes, before the child grows enough to refuse evil and choose good, the land whose two kings you dread will be left abandoned. Adonai will bring the king of Asher on you, your people and your father's house. These will be days worse than you've known since Ephraim broke loose from Judah. Yes, when that day comes, Adonai will whistle for the fly in the farthest streams of the Nile in Egypt, and for the bee in the land of Asher. They will come and settle, all of them, in steep wadis and holes in the rocks, and on all thorn bushes and brambles. When that day comes, Adonai will shave with a razor hired beyond the Euphrates River. That is the king of Asher. The head and the hair between the legs will get rid of the beard as well. So, in this culture, I don't know if I'm just looking at this, I don't know if he's saying the king of Asher will have his head and hair between his legs. That's really graphic. And get rid of his beard as well. Or if he's saying that will happen to you. But it sounds like in this reading, he's saying that the king of Asher will have that. Now, in those days, having a beard was actually like a sign of honor. And to have your beard shaved off was the most amazing, like, humiliation. So for God to say the head and the hair between the legs and get rid of the beard as well, it's doubly humiliating. So when that day comes, a man will raise a young cow and 2 sheep will they produce in abundance? No, he will have to eat curdled milk. Indeed, everyone left in the land will eat curdled milk and wild honey. When that day comes, wherever there once were 1,000 grapevines worth 1,000 pieces of silver, there will be only briars and thorns. One will go there to hunt with bow and arrow. With all the land will be briars and thorns. You will visit hills once worked with a hoe, for fear of the briars and thorns. It will be good only for pasturing cattle and being tramped down by sheep. So he's saying all of this stuff, what I'm getting from this is all of these things are going to happen before Yeshua comes. And Ahaz is showing an incredible amount of disbelief, faithlessness in this, in what he's doing. So, just looking through this, so we're going to talk about this group of chapters. It's different from the previous chapters. In the next group of chapters is actually the book of Emmanuel. Yeshua belongs to the period of the Syro Ephraimite war. And let's just read that in 2 Kings 16 verse 1 to 20, so we know what we're talking about. Let's see, 2 Kings, okay, right here, just before Isaiah. I have a different order in this Bible because it's a Jewish Bible. 2 Kings, what? 2 Kings 16 verse 1 to 20. There. Okay, so it was in the 7th year of Pekah, the son of Ramaliah, that Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began his reign. Ahaz was 20 years old when he began to rule, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. But he did not do what was right from the perspective of Adonai his God, as David his ancestor had done. Rather, he lived in the manner of the kings of Israel. He even made his son pass through the fire as a sacrifice, in keeping with the abominable practices of the pagans, whom Adonai had thrown out ahead of the people of Israel. He also sacrificed and offered on the high places, on the hills, under any green tree. So he served Molech. Molech was the god of child sacrifice, And he served, sounds like Ashereth, that the pole of Ashereth. Um, he made sacrifices there. Um, then Rezin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Ramaliah, king of Israel, came to fight against Jerusalem. They put Ahaz under siege, but they could not overcome him. It was at that time that Rezin, king of Aram, recovered Eilat for Aram and drove the Judeans from Eilat, whereupon people from Edom and Eilat to live, as they do to this day. Then Ahaz sent messages to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Ashur, with this message: I am your servant and your son. Come up and save me from the king of Aram and the king of Israel, who are attacking me. Ahaz took the silver and gold that was in the house of Adonai and in the treasuries of the royal palace, and sent it as a present to the king of Ashur. The king of Ashur heeded him. The king of Ashur attacked Damascus and captured it, and he carried its people captive to Kir and killed Rezin. When King Ahaz went to Damascus to meet Tiglath-Pileser, king of Ashur, and saw the altar that was in Damascus, he sent a drawing and a model of the altar to Uriah the priest, with details of its construction and decoration. Then Uriah the priest built an altar exactly according to the design King Ahaz had sent from Damascus. Uriah the priest had it ready by the time King Ahaz returned from Damascus. Then the king arrived from Damascus. He saw the altar, and the king approached the altar and offered on it. He offered his burnt offering and his grain offering, poured out his drink offering, and splashed the blood of his peace offerings on the altar. The bronze altar, which was before Adonai, he brought in front of the house, from between his own altar and the house of Adonai, and put it on the north side of his own altar. Then King Ahaz instructed Uriah the priest as follows: Henceforth it is on the large altar that you are to offer the morning burnt offering, the evening burnt grain offering, the king's burnt offering and the grain offering, together with the burnt offering of the people of all the land, their grain offering and their drink offerings, and you are to splash all the blood of the burnt offering against it, and all the blood of the sacrifice. As for the bronze altar, I will take care of that. Uriah the priest acted in accordance with everything King Ahaz ordered. King Ahaz removed the panels of the trolleys and took the basins off them, and took the sea off the bronze oxen supporting it, and set it on the stone pavement. And because of the king of Ashur, he removed from the house of Adonai the colonnade used on Shabbat that had been built for it, and the king's entrance way outside it. Other activities of Ahaz and all his accomplishments are recorded in the annals of the kings of Judah. Ahaz slept with his ancestors and was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then Hezekiah, his son, took the place of it as king. Okay, so I can see one huge problem with that. Was kind of just by the way, by the actions of Ahaz, he built a temple according to the temple that he saw in Damascus, not to God's. God actually had laid plans for the temple of what God wanted, and Ahaz completely didn't even take that into account and wanted to build a beautiful temple like was in Damascus. And then he said everything that needed to be done, all the sacrifices needed to be done there. So he was actually doing things actually contrary to what God had set out for the people. And the fact that Uriah, the high priest, had to take like a colonnade um, out of the temple of God and remove it. I mean, it's like sacrilege. It's totally just for you to get an idea of how wicked these people were, they had become. And so, in um, during this time, Isaiah uttered great prophecies of Emmanuel, including with a song of triumphant faith, uh, concluding with a song of triumphant faith that ends with assurance, great is the Holy One of Israel among you. And that's in Isaiah 12:16. So here Warren threats stand in vivid contrast to the messianic blessing. That's in 11 verse 1 to 16. So Rezin and Pekah, the Syro-Ephraimite war, probably took place in 735, 734 BC. Aram, which is Syria, and Israel, which is Ephraim, were attempting to convince Ahaz to join them in a coalition against Assyria, but Isaiah was pressuring Ahaz on the other side to stop him from entering um, a counter alliance with Assyria. So you can see this in 2 Kings 16 verse 5 to 18 and 2 Chronicles 28 verse 16 to 21. So I'm just going to read you something. I have the great fortune to have a archaeological Bible, and in here is something about the Syro-Ephraimite War. So it says it's in the Archaeological Study Bible. The great promise of Isaiah 7 verse 14. Let's just see 7 verse 14. 7 verse 14. It's therefore Adonai himself will give you people a sign. A young woman will become pregnant, bear a son, and name him Emmanuel. So that's 7 verse 14, that a virgin will give birth to a son and call him Emmanuel. Did not arise in a vacuum, but from within a specific historical context. In approximately 734 BC, Israel is the northern kingdom, also called Ephraim, and Syria, also called Aram, form a military alliance in defiance of the growing power of Assyria. The king of Israel was Pekah, who had apparently assassinated his predecessor. So he didn't become king in a very good way, in the natural way. And then Pekahiah, son of Menahem, seized power and instituted an anti-Assyrian policy in Israel. So the king of Assyria was Rezin. Syria had for a long time been a major opponent of the Assyrian Empire, which was at that time under control of Tiglath-Pileser III. Assyria, located in what is now Iraq, was strategizing an approach from the east against Damascus, the capital of Syria, and then Samaria, the capital of Israel. Pekah and Rezin realized that their position would be that much more difficult if Judah to the south of Samaria was against them. In such a situation, they had to fight a two-front war against Ahaz of Judah and to the south, and the Assyrians to the northeast. They decided to launch a preemptive strike against Jerusalem and to replace Ahaz with a puppet king, an individual referred to simply as the son of Tabeel. That's in verse 6. You can see that right here in verse 6. We will invade Judah, tear it apart, divide it among ourselves, and appoint the son of Tabeel as king there. Okay. A historical problem in the story is that 2 Kings 15 verse 30 reports that Hosea, the last king of Israel, assassinated his predecessor, Pekah, in the 20th century, in the 20th year of Jotham, father of Ahaz. If so, how could Pekah have led a war against Ahaz? The probable solution is that Ahaz was at the time of the war a co-regent with his father Jotham. Co-regent, that's what it says, the word. It's broken up in a way that's really weird. So a co-regent with his father Jotham. So Ahaz wasn't ruling alone. That is news to me. Ahaz was not really ruling alone. He was ruling with his father Jotham. At the opening of Isaiah 7, the prophet found Ahaz at the conduit of the upper pool, perhaps inspecting the city's water supply in anticipation of a siege. Do I have enough water if I am stuck in here because people are surrounding me, wanting to attack? The coalition of Syria and Israel had already devastated the territory of Judah. Isaiah offered Ahaz assurance from God that the city would not fall and urged him to ask for a sign from God. But Ahaz curtly refused. It appears that Ahaz did not want to be bothered with religious talk because he had already sent an appeal to Tiglath-Pileser for help. The Assyrian king did indeed respond and moved swiftly against the Syro Ephraimite coalition. So Ahaz didn't want to talk about that because he had made his plans. And who cared what God said? Who cared that God was going to save them? Who wants to hear that? I've made my own plans. I'm in the driver's seat. We all do this sometimes. We get in the driver's seat and we're like, I'm driving. God's like, I'll help you. No, I've got this. I'm driving. I don't need you. I don't need you, God, So, yeah, that's basically what was happening. But Isaiah was furious with that Ahaz was placing his hope in Assyria rather than in God. He informed the king that Jerusalem would indeed survive, but that Assyrian troops would pass through the land like a flood. What is going on here? Something has flashed up, blocking me from seeing what's going on. Okay, it's gone. And so, so the Assyrian troops, he informed the king that Jerusalem would indeed survive, but that Assyrian troops would pass through the land like a flood, decimating everything in their path. That was his punishment for not wanting to hear what God said, for not wanting to ask God for a sign and put his trust in God. He was actually given a way out there, and he rejected it because he thought he knew everything. He was arrogant. He knew everything. Never mind that he was shaking in his boots at the thought of at the thought of being attacked. But no, God offers help. God offers a sign that he would save them, and he's like, no, thank you. Who does that? Who is offered help out of a seriously dangerous situation, and you're like, no, it's fine. I'm okay. I don't need your help. So He informed the king that Jerusalem would indeed survive, but that the Assyrian troops would pass through the land like a flood, decimating everything in their path. The Assyrians would sweep the land clean like a razor that shaves all the hair from a man's body. Okay, now I'm getting it. So that's what that was in reference to. Do you remember when I read something and I couldn't understand? So that is like humiliation. Humiliating for a person to go through that, to be shaved. Even their beard, particularly men, it was hard. It says, when that day comes, a man will raise a young cow and two sheep. No, wait. Oh, yeah, it's verse 20. When that day comes, Adonai will shave with a razor, hide beyond the Euphrates River. Okay, so yes, he was using the attacking army to do it. I didn't get that at first. That is with the king of Asher, the head and the hair between their legs, and get rid of the beard as well. So just complete emptiness, nothingness, humiliation, not just taking everything good away from the land, like a razor, just cutting it off. So the people of Judah would be reduced to near starvation, since farming would be impossible under these conditions. The land would revert to pasture and wilderness. People would have to live off whatever they could hunt or gather in the wild, as well as the dairy products of whatever cattle they could manage to retain. Just as Isaiah had predicted, the coalition of Syria and Israel came to nothing. Pekah was assassinated by Hosea, and Damascus fell to the Assyrians in 732 BC. And Samaria would be destroyed, and the northern kingdom would come to an end. But Assyrian power nearly brought down Jerusalem as well. Ahaz's rejection of the sign had nearly cost Judah everything, but it did lead to God's giving a much greater sign in verse 14, which was, therefore Adonai himself will give you a sign. The young woman will become pregnant, bear a son, and name him Emmanuel, God with us. And actually, that didn't happen until long, long time later. We all know. So, what can you learn from this? There's always a lesson that we can learn from this, and that is, do not doubt God. Do not be faithless. Be faithful. Be full of faith. Look back over your life and look at what He's done in your life, and you will see that He has done so much, even the little things. He does to bless us, even insignificant things that seem like nothing, but it's actually God blessing you. So, and also you can learn something also from this. There was a separation of kingdoms because of what caused it. It was, first of all, the Ephraimites saying, I want better, I prefer that land. That land looks better. I want my way, not God's way, because God gave me this land, and He gave you land to live on for free. Like you didn't even have to kill anyone. God did the work. The walls came tumbling down, and you chose something different, first of all. And then the second divide was, as we know, what I talked about, was the Benjamites being upset that David became king, and Saul kind of came to nothing. He stopped being king. Because why? Because there was an evil spirit that was inside of him, because he actually disobeyed God, and so he lost his kingship. God took away his kingship, not David. But the Benjamites got jealous, and they said, no, the kingship should have stayed with Saul. What is David doing here, this little shepherd boy? Who's he? But God put him in place. And so the Benjamites became kind of not part of the will of God, and they were like, well, we're going to go live here. And so there was a split, brought from greed and jealousy and need for power, actually. And so when you operate from greed, jealousy, need for power, and when you are not faithful but faithless, when you don't put your faith in the one who made you, who created the universe, this trouble normally follows. So, yeah, I'll leave you with that today. It was a little bit of a harder one, kind of to understand. I'm still understanding. We're doing this Bible study together, and I'm figuring it out just as you're figuring it out. And sometimes God kind of just really downloads to me. Most of the time, God really downloads to me. But today, it's the first time we are doing Isaiah 7, so I wanted to really go into the history, what was happening at the time, and just the political landscape, all the things that were happening. So next time we're going to go through Isaiah 7 slowly together and just see what God can tell us through it, what he can reveal. And the message is that, again, that there's always hope in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and life. And he is, again, giving Ahaz that message, that promise, that there will be someone born by a virgin who will be Emmanuel. So, yeah, join me as I get deep into this. It's going to get more kind of focused on Jesus now. But as I say, there was a need for the prophets, so there will be judgment on the way. There will be consequences for actions, which is how life goes. Anyway, so I'm going to leave you with that, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.